October will be 16 years clean and sober from drugs and alcohol. So I think, sometimes it's hard to talk to people about it because they don't quite understand, but can you talk a little bit about what your business was then compared to where you've taken your business in your life the last 12 years? Like, is there any way to determine if you would end up in the same spot? Like, I know for me, if I try to take it day by day, the way that they teach you in the courses, but really when it really comes down to it, I just think of everywhere that I've been able to go and things I've been able to do over the last so many years, and realize that none of that would have been possible in my previous state. Do you see similarities?
Oh man, like on October 2008, I had a conversation with my wife. We were separated at the time. I was living in an apartment. She was living up the hill. And I remember some words that got exchanged, and I went up to my apartment. I just, screw it, man. I'm done. I'm tapping out. I went into my closet, pulled out everything that I owned drug wise, put it on the table, started just contemplating, like writing my suicide note, and got my note going. And my phone rang about, I don't know, maybe 4 minutes into writing. I can vividly kind of remember what I was writing. And my buddy goes, "Hey, I'm coming to see you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So he came and knocked on my door, and his name's John. And John gave me a big hug, and he goes, "Tony, your life has meaning and purpose. Just how you're living it right now doesn't." I had no money. Credit card companies didn't want to give me anything. I was living in an apartment, my life, like I was so selfish and self-centered. I drove a $250,000 convertible, but I had 2 kids and myself. So I wasn't thinking about anybody. I was thinking about me primarily. And, I couldn't afford anything, and, I just didn't want to live. And that day he saved my life, introduced me to kind of like, he opened my mind to some possibilities of things that I wasn't thinking about. Money wise, we had money. The company was making money. I was making money. I wasn't doing anything smart with my money. And so one thing led to another. Just ultimately, it took me a little bit longer until the 24th of October to finally give up drugs. And then about 45 days until I finally got clean and sober. Walked into the rooms, and a buddy of mine took me to my meeting, and I heard somebody say something in there, said, "If you would just read this book, it might just change your life." And I'm like, well, I think my life's pretty good. But I'm like, it might just change your life. And I'm like, well, what would I change? And I'm like, I'd want my wife back. I'd want my kids together. I'd want to repair my business relationships. I'd like to get out of debt. I was like $1 million in debt at the time. And all of these things. And then I just said, well, I got only one option. I'm like, go for it. Just like I've done everything in my life. And that really ultimately led to the person I am today, because the day I walked in is the day I got clean and sober. I've been clean and sober ever since. All life is a bunch of decisions. I love Jim Rohn. He always talks about it. He says, what's the last 6,000 years look like? Difficulties mixed with opportunities. What's the next 6,000 years look like? Difficulty mixed with opportunities. So if I know that, what decisions I need to make today to make my life better? So everything just came down to humbling myself, saying, I don't know what to do, but I know I can ask questions. And that was something I wasn't good at, because I never needed your help. I wanted to figure it out on my own. That's part of being an entrepreneur. But that was the selfish side of being an entrepreneur. So when I flipped it, started raising my hand, asking for help, imagine standing at the beach and your parents would tell you, don't turn your back to the ocean. I did. And I allowed the wave of emotions to come over me and really open my eyes to the possibilities for me, which is get out of debt, repair my marriage, build a relationship with my kids, turn my business around. And since then, all of those areas of my life, even my personal relationships, I don't want to put 100x on it, but it would probably be more like 1,000,000x. Everything around me has gotten better.